and welcome back to the best thing you watched this week. We got Chris from Movies and Munchies, Ruben from the Ruby Tuesday. Today we're going to be talking about 3 best things that we drummed up into the world of our eyeballs because this week has been particularly crappy. We go through crappy weeks as reviewers. We know that we're going to have to sometimes just go through this, but this week in particular, Chris, what are you drinking?
I have some whiskey. Now, I got to say, it's 10:25 in the morning because what nobody else is going to know, but you're about to know, is that we have had nothing but technical difficulties. This is our 5th time trying to record this. So as far as YouTube is concerned, this is apple juice. It is single malt apple juice from the Glenlivet
Good
variety.
times.
But
Okay.
yeah, let's yeah. Oh, we so discombobulated because we've just had so many issues. Okay. Before we dive into your movie quote quiz, because I absolutely love this portion of this, I think we should address who won. Yes, or who guessed correctly.
Who did win again?
So you didn't have anybody on yours that correctly guessed? Okay.
No.
I had a runner-up who got 2 out of the 3,
Nice.
which was Vera Morris. So congratulations to you. I mean, you just get bragging rights. That's all it is. Maybe eventually we will discover some sort of actual prize, but right now, no. And then Nostromo, who has won a couple of times before, got all 3. So we have The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Predestination, which I am completely unfamiliar with. I don't even know that movie. And then The Matrix.
Yes.
So good job. Excellent. But Ruben, what do you have for us this week?
Okay. Getting my acting chops on. Ready. Okay. Let's ride.
Nice.
Yeah. That's always.
For everybody in the podcast, you missed the visuals. Ruben's got his hands going back and forth next to his head there, pointing, kind of shaking.
Oh, I'm glad you say that. I forget sometimes. Yeah, there's a bunch of people listening and they can't see because it's darkness in your head. Certainly darkness in my head today.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. For the second one, while Chris... Thanks, mate. Well, Chris drinks his single malt whiskey. I mean, apple juice.
Apple juice.
Apple juice, single malt apple juice. I think, Terrence, what are we going to do today? I don't know, Philip. What are we going to do today? What did the Iranian gynecologist say to the... I don't know.
Nice.
two characters from a certain thing, which you should get.
Yes.
Okay. Come on, my man. I don't feel so good. I don't feel right. Count to 10. 1, 2. Okay. You should get it.
Wonderful. Oh, that's awesome. I got all 3 of those, so I'm glad I'm good to go. That is good.
Nice.
Yes.
An easier one because we need it easier.
We did need easier this week. Yes. It feels like just to get a little bit of that, it feels like a win, which I needed, So thank you for that. May I ask you a question?
For sure.
Okay. So what slogan or jingle has gotten stuck in your head forever?
This is a good one. And if this wasn't the 5th time talking about it, I would be as excited about talking about it. This is the first time you've definitely asked me this question, Chris.
Yes.
But so the first time I hadn't heard about this, I was in the dark. I didn't know how big that it was, like the most sung song on the YouTubes ever. It has a bazillion views. Baby Shark. Baby Shark. I actually have a shirt that says Daddy Shark.
Nice.
My wife got me because we thought it was funny. That and South African jingles, Pisum Paw Paw, Black Cat Peanut Butter, the block up. There are things from adverts, little jingles that will get stuck in your head. Themes from TV series like Mm, do 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 diddle do do diddle do 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 do
Do, do,
do
do,
do
do,
do
do.
do. Yeah. Or if I say like Michael, um, Michael.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly. What
Oh,
about you?
well, you're probably not familiar with this one, but we are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. So
No.
it's an insurance agency, insurance company here in the United States, and I believe it's J.K. Simmons that is the spokesperson for that, and that's just how they end. And it's one of those that you
We are
can't,
farmers.
yeah, and then you can't not do the bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum. You know,
Yeah,
it's
because
just,
we have insurance company here with Churchill, which is a dog. You know, the dog that has like many layers on its face.
oh yeah, yeah, the Shar-Pei,
No,
not a wrinkly dog like that.
yeah, it is a wrinkly dog, but it's
Oh,
not Sharpei. It's
hmm.
small, like a almost pug like. Anyway, it's
Like a bulldog.
yeah, like a bulldog.
Oh, okay.
And he goes, "Oh yes," in the most British accent you ever. And there's all these toys that sell that have bobbly heads, and
Okay.
you know, and he goes, "Oh yes, yes, oh yes." And this is not making me dizzy or giving me a headache at all.
Nice.
Anyway,
Oh,
let's get
goodness.
stuck into the best thing we watched.
Perfect.
What was first on your list?
Well, this is a movie that dropped this week. Actually, not this week, just the other day on Friday, and it's called Love Goals. It's a I don't- that was perfectly timed. And for everybody that, well, it's the morning for me, it is dinner time for Ruben. And he is probably past his dinner time now. And to keep Ruben from getting absolutely hangry, well, there you go. Um, but the movie's called Love Goals. It's a Hindi film on Netflix, and it is a romantic ish comedy with magic and soccer or football. Really, it's football because for the rest of the world that that actually knows
So
the
how does
sport,
magic, love, and soccer work?
surprisingly well. So we have this guy named Minu who is he wants to be a magician, not a
A
musician,
musician.
a
A
musician. Yes.
musician.
It's
Nice.
they play while doing tricks. It's weird. He's a magician. He wants to be a magician. His dad, though,
Moo.
all growing up, was a local soccer star
A slacker.
and
How much apple
football.
juice have you
Sorry,
had?
not enough. Sorry, football. Football. His dad is a local football star and
Okay.
has wanted his son to just grow up to be that. Minu is
Mm.
terrible at soccer. I mean, just he's horrendous at it, and he has no desire to do any of it. He wants
Hmm.
to be the magician. Well, his dad, which we learn in the first like 2 minutes of the movie, his dad dies. And the dad's father, Minu's uncle, begins to raise him. Now,
Yeah.
Minu's uncle is also a football star. And so you have that tension there. Now, they have these local neighborhood teams, and they have a neighborhood championships and tournaments. And it's not your neighborhood like you and three friends down the street just play, in between the cars and stuff like that. This is, I mean, they have sponsors. They play on big fields. So it's while I hear neighborhood, it encompasses a larger thing. And so it's a
Mm.
larger region. Now, the rule is that you have to live within that neighborhood to play, which then means, though, that because of how people, where they're at or whatever, you have some teams that are absolutely stacked with awesome players, like could go
Nice.
pro.
Mm.
And then you have some like Minu's team who are just kind of the ragtag group who you probably wouldn't even pick on the playground to be on your team. Some of
Yeah.
them have talent, but for the most part, they're just kind of goofy and so anyway, Minu also he sees this woman, he falls instantly in love. He tries to woo her, and there's a large emotional arc through this. Now, some of the downsides to this movie is there's a couple of climaxes, so the movie feels longer, or you feel the time because it is a long movie. It's like it's 2 hours and 40 something minutes long, so
Mm.
it's a longer movie. There is some singing in it. I loved it. The singing worked. It was wonderful. Um, there's there's not the action. I mean, there's football action, and so the camera work is really good because it gives us a feel um, of being within the game or seeing the game happen, but not up so close that it's all blurry and that we can't tell what's going on. But also, we're not in the nosebleed seats seeing this tiny little game go, happen in front of us. So that's really good too. I mean, it's just a great balance.
Mm.
The magic portion of it, though, I loved because it made me feel like I was sitting in the audience watching these tricks. And we know that with movie magic, you can literally do whatever you want. People fly around all the time and disappear and everything. But this didn't feel like that. This felt like I was watching illusions within a magic show. And just the way the camera captured that. The characters are great. They don't always learn all of the lessons, and the story doesn't always make them learn all of the lessons, which was a little bit of a bummer to me. Like, they learned some, which I loved, and then others are just kind of like brushed under the rug a little bit. So, that. But on the whole, I mean, it put a smile on my face. I laughed out loud a bunch of times, and a lot of the time I was like smiling and chuckling, just very amused by it. Even when I saw things coming and I was like, oh, I bet they're going to do this. Yep, they did it. That made me laugh because they did it. And I wanted to see it happen. So it's available on Netflix, and it's definitely one. If you're looking for something good that feels good, that has a bunch of different story arcs within it that all come together, then it's a good one.
Nice.
Yeah.
I saw this pop up on Netflix. It looked really interesting. I just didn't have the willpower to start something else that I thought might be crap because I thought it so much. But knowing that it's good, I'm definitely going to chuck this on my list. So that's
nice.
That's pretty cool. Okay, so Vinland Saga is an anime that I've talked about before briefly in, I think, our top 5 Vikings. We did an episode called Vikings, and I briefly added it in there. But you mentioned to me recently that it had dropped on Netflix. So I started watching it again. I totally forgot how good it was. And I watched it with Kirsten, and she doesn't watch anime at all. So it was surprising to me that she watched all 24 episodes. That was normally it's a good representation of something is really good in storytelling than if it catches her imagination, because I've forced her to watch so much over the years. Being a reviewer, it's got to be really good, otherwise it's going to be sucky. And yeah, she was as invested as I was. The story is pretty historically accurate in terms of times and like what year it sets in, how many people invaded when, who invaded when, whether the Danes invaded this, which king, the names they used. A lot of that is historically accurate, although they do take liberties in some of like who's doing what when, because it's anime. The dubbing is great. So to help Kirsten not to have to read the subtitles, just kind of relax into it and enjoy it. And enjoy the animation and the action sequences, which are great because it's Vikings. They really need to kind of step up their game with the action. It's great. Sure. So you can be invested in the action sequences without having to read. For me, I'm so used to it now, reading it, it comes second nature. It's fine. But for people that aren't used to it, I can totally understand that's been a thing that draws you away from it. Or if they speak really quickly, sometimes you have to read and then try and catch up, which, we've experienced ourselves. I know.
Yeah.
The story there I love because it's all character based. It's basically a revenge story. You follow one king, Thorfinn, who is being trained by the guy that killed his dad. And every time he levels up or gets stronger, the reward that Thorfinn gets for doing something that this guy has basically forced him to do is to get to challenge him in a duel. And as you can imagine, over the 24 episodes, he fights him a lot. The thing is, by the end of the 24 episodes, you like the good guys and the bad guys. I guess there are no good guys and there are no bad guys. It's just life. It's the blurring of who you can look at the Vikings as bad guys because they're invading, but there's a history there and there's a reason why they're invading. It's not just for riches and stuff. That there's a whole backstory into that, and some of that is explored. And the good thing is that finally we're getting the second season. This is coming out in January.
Nice.
So apparently the first 24 episodes were literally just like the beginnings of the manga, and there's a lot of other places that they can go. So I'm excited to see what they do with the action. It's probably in my top 5 animes of all time now, just because of the character building, the characters that I love. It's brutal, it's sad, but you can't help but like click the next episode.
Now, does Thorfinn, that's his name, Thorfinn? does he know that the guy that's training him killed his father?
Yeah, he was there.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Yeah. So he uses the guy. He refuses to leave the guy's side at the age of
Mm,
4 or 5. And the guy kicks the crap out of him, like right at the beginning. This 4 or 5 year old and says, "Don't come back." And then he's will and revenge because of the stock, like in his bloodline. His father
mm,
was like the best Viking warrior ever. Even the scariest generals on the field, at the mention of his name, is like, "Oh, that's his son." Wow.
nice.
Um, yeah, so he has this heritage to live up to, but he also wants to honor his father. But everything his father stood for, like what his father learned about war is the mantra of what he needs to know, what it means to be a warrior. And there's this mantra that just continues throughout the series that I don't think he quite learns just yet. But
Mm.
who knows? Maybe next time. Yeah.
Cool. All right, I've got it on my list. I just need to carve out a little bit of time to watch it, so that's good. I'm glad that you got to revisit it and had just as much fun with it. So
Hmm.
very cool. Okay, yeah. So as we had said, our week was watching was poo, and it was just bad. So I decided to watch two movies. The next time you're having tacos. Oh, and you moved your microphone. I saw that. Okay. I had tacos last night for dinner. Just as an aside, there, love
Nice.
tacos. Um, but so we watched two movies last night because I just needed a win. I needed something, first off, to make me feel better, but then also I needed something to be able to talk about today too with you. So the first one is from 1995, and it stars, there's Ethan Embry, Liv Tyler, Renee Zellweger, and the soundtrack, more than anything, is spectacular. Now, the reason I love this movie, and I'll get to the title in just a second, but I worked like you in a Blockbuster. And so working in a video store, just it has this vibe to it, smells, the whole, just the personas, everything
The
like
damp
that.
carpets. Did you ever have that smell?
No, we didn't really have damp carpet smell.
Okay. Mm.
Our Blockbuster was the mix of cleaner, like warm video cassettes and popcorn.
Mm.
You know
Yeah,
that
ours is
that
more broken down than that.
okay. Well, my other job that came a little later than that, which is really reminds me of this and gives me a huge appreciation for the movie, is I worked in a record store,
Mm.
and this was on the cassettes were still a thing. CDs were huge, but it was in that middle time where cassettes, they hadn't gone away. And really CDs had taken over because vinyl was kind of on its way out at that moment. And then it makes, as we know, a huge resurgence. But anyway, the movie is called Empire Records. And this is a very mid 90s movie. I mean, the look, the feel, the angst that happens throughout the day of the workers in this record store. Think, what's that movie with John Cusack and Jack Black?
Oh yeah, with all the records. Oh my gosh, High Fidelity.
High Fidelity. So
Mm.
think High Fidelity, but not as much. Like I don't know. I like this better. This has more comedy in it. It's there's more characters in it also, so it has the more ups and downs.
Mm.
It does have your teenage angst. It's got some drama, people going on roller coasters of emotional rides and stuff. But there are so many things within this that speak of reality of what my experience was within a record store, and it's so first off, I mean, it's nostalgic, but then it's so great. My wife and I watching it with the kids last night, and she and I are like rocking out to the entire soundtrack because it's got indie hits, it's got mainstream stuff, you've got some
It
rock.
does have an excellent score. Yeah.
Just, yeah, outstanding. And so it's just a whole bunch of fun, and it always puts a smile on my face because it takes place in one encapsulated thing, one day, a 24-hour period, and you watch so many different character journeys within this, and character growth, and relationship dramas that are explored and expanded, and just nuances addressed, the whole thing, and all of it wrapped up in, I mean, even though there's some things where I can look at it and go, oh, well, that totally happened and that totally happened. I mean, the reality portion of it is like, yeah, all of this happening at once. I mean, you just, what in the crap, you turn off that, but it's the escapism. We had, if I can give you a brief little story, we had this person when I was working at the record store. Ours were the front counter was raised some, just like in Empire Records, and so you could see more of the store. It was elevated there. So some dude comes in and he's standing next to the cassette wall and he asks, which happens all the time, is like, "Hey, I'm looking for this song. I can't remember. Do you know who sings it or whatever?" And we go, "Well, yeah, let us know. What are some of the lyrics or how does it go?" And he stands there. Now, again, for the podcast people, I'm sorry, I'll have to describe this afterwards. But he starts bobbing his head and he's like, yeah.
How you dance, Chris?
Yeah. So he's dancing to himself, and me and my buddy who's working, we look at each other like, are we, as Ruben rocks out to music that we can't hear. We look at him and we're like, dude, all of that was in your head. We have no idea what you were the guy was literally singing it in his head, but not opening his mouth other than to be like, to agree with himself of like, yeah, just come on, throw me a.
Awesome.
It's just so good. Yeah.
I love stories like that. People are weird.
The people are weird, and it was so great because we got to the laugh at that, and I discovered so many new songs and new artists by working there, because we would go, like Empire Records, they have this where the employees will pick a song or pick an album or whatever, and somebody always has veto power, whether that's the person in charge or whoever's up front. For us, if you were working at the front desk, you were in charge of the music, because the people in the back of the store where the videos and everything were, they couldn't leave that area. So there was arguing.
Putting on the score to like The Exorcist. Or...
Yeah, no. There were some times though we had some classical music playing. Sometimes that was typically in the morning, but there were also times where you were rocking out to something really, really hard, or shouldn't have been. Like there's I can't remember not Five Finger Death Punch. But there was some hardcore, harder metal band, something that's kind of similar that one guy really loved. And so in the mornings before we opened, he got to play that because it
amps him up, got him ready for the day.
Just agitated everybody else.
Everybody else is like,
yeah, I'm so stressed. Oh, goodness. But yeah, Empire Records. Check it out.
You know what? I think because we're like in 2022 now, where the movies depict, well, a lot of movies have depicted cars like flying by now. We are in the future. We're living in the future from those movies.
Yeah.
And a lot of people's nostalgic, well, from our generation, is like the 80s. It's like we love the 80s. But actually, the 90s are so old now. They are a nostalgic. They have a lot of nostalgic around there, where there's a few great 90s films where we can go, remember Dude, Where's My Car? Or, so many 90s films that were so bad, but actually kind of cheesy gold. I don't think Empire Records is quite cheesy, but it does have some teenage angst in there that is like, you couldn't make that film today. But there's a reason for it. It's 90s.
Yeah. It would not resonate the same way now. No. And I'm curious at how, like, if like my son, my youngest son, who's 20, who just saw it for the first time last night because we were horrible parents and apparently didn't show it to him before this.
I love that. That's a horrible parent thing,
right? I mean, my oldest son and his wife were watching too, and they'd already seen it and they loved it also. But now our kids love it, but I think that's because of how they grew up. You know what I mean? For this massive appreciation for music and movies and everything. So they were exposed to a lot of different genres and everything. But I'm not sure that your typical general audience, or if somebody of like my youngest son's age would sit down and watch this and go, this was really funny, or I really enjoyed this. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it depends on the family and the attention span. If it doesn't have like a TikTok video in it, that might not get the views,
True.
Anyway, moving on.
Yes.
The next thing I want to talk about is a Marvel TV series that just finished. Episode 6 aired on Friday, and it's Miss Marvel. And for me, I even tweeted it this week. For me, it's the best Marvel series. above Wanda, above Loki, definitely above. I was gonna say Agents of Shield, but that's not it.
Hawkeye or
No, Hawkeye I
uh,
loved. Um,
oh, Winter Soldier
Winter Soldier,
and
so
Captain America.
Captain America,
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Falcon, and the Winter Soldier. That's the one.
that's it.
They all were great in their own way, some better than others. But for me, Miss Marvel managed to capture my heart because of the family unit that portrayed in
Mm,
it. They are genuine, real people that are funny, but also heartbreaking at the same time. And the way they incorporate the family to be part of the heroic journey towards the end of the series was just perfect. Love the dad, that moment where he comes in dressed as the Hulk, full paint makeup, and then the daughter says no, and you're like, don't break your dad's heart. What are you doing? Loved every bit. And then there's like a big reveal in the last episode, which just had me going, oh, I see where they're going. They're obviously gearing up for the Marvel's movie. Without doing spoilers, there's just some really unique, interesting ideas that they're going for. And obviously, if you've been on Twitter or anything, you'll know people are geeking out or upset because you can't
mm.
please everybody about one particular way where they've taken this character. I love the family unit. I think that's where it works the best. I don't think they needed the those guys that come and look
Oh,
take
the
down.
government type
Yeah,
thing.
what
Yeah,
they have a name is going to bug me, but they
yeah.
there's government to take new developing powers or new kind of superpowers that are evolved or manifest. It's their mission basically to take off
Mm.
the young ones off the street, and who knows what they do with them. But yeah, and we saw that a bit in Spider-Man Homecoming because he was there. But talking about Spider-Man Homecoming, this series is very reminiscent of that, of her learning her powers in the high
Mm.
school. The vibrancy, the color palette, all of that works perfectly. I just thoroughly enjoyed this. I want more. The negativity, that one thing about the government. Other than that, it's too short. But that would be my feelings pretty much about all of the series. They're too short.
Yeah, I saw. Like, I'm not finished with the series yet. Loving what I've been watching so far. But yeah, I saw people talking about like, hey, the finales this week, and there's a lot still that it feels like it needs to cover. And I think that's though the general consensus with all of the Marvel series that have
Mm,
been on, that they like, we would really like some more, just take some depth,
yeah.
branch this out even more. I mean, you figure it's because there's what, 6 episodes, so this is like a 3-ish hour movie.
Mm,
But if you're gonna spread it out over weeks, and you're only gonna give it to us in 30-minute chunks or less, really, when the actual time is there, um, I think you could tell some richer stories to dive into a couple of more different angles there,
mm.
and extend it for a couple times, especially if you figure that Disney's trying to extend their watch time. You know what I mean? Like, keeping people coming back week after week will make your series a little bit longer, and that will also help.
Yeah, I agree. But yeah, I hope everybody. I think it's the least watched of the series, which really disappoints me because I think that comes down to either them promoting it less because they had another series like Obi-Wan running at the same time, but
Hmm.
also some of the negativity from the talk of the change in powers. Again, it's racism as well because obviously it's the first proper is it Hindi series?
She's
Pakistan?
she's Pakistani. Yeah.
Okay, well, forgive me if I got it wrong, but yeah, there were parts they embraced about the story, like with the police, kind of raiding the mosque.
Hmm.
All of that I thought was very, really real, added to the depth of it. I really hope we get a second season because it deserves it. I want to see the family. Like, I know we're going to see more of her, but I want to see the family unit interacting again. Mm.
I, I loved all those dynamics. I mean, like you talked about, with her dad bursting
Mm.
in, wearing the Hulk costume, and her reaction and breaking his heart. I mean, you see
Yeah,
the devastation in him. It was so. I mean, it's painful to watch, but it was so well executed.
yeah, it was
Um,
very real. Yeah.
and I love the conflict that we see between Kamala and her mom, but then it also is mirrored between her mom and the grandmother,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
and you see how this is a generational type of thing that needs to be fixed. And since I haven't finished it, I don't know if it does get fixed or not, but there's just, you can see there's definite parallels between the two relationships that you're like, oh gosh, you could fix this. This would be, you know, I mean, just, yeah.
Communicate, people.
Exactly. But yeah, I've loved the series too, and I agree that I don't think they've done a good enough job of marketing this in a way that to like it came across the marketing that I saw, it came across as very teenage girl, you know, which is not bad for that. But if you're trying to pull in the general audience as well, then you need to have a broader base of with your marketing messages there.
You know, it's funny. It's more realistic teenage angst than that I could get behind than all of the other series I've seen with teenagers in recently. If you take at least the top 20 teenage angst Netflix series that I've seen recently, like they don't get it right. It's just too much. It's over the top. But here, it's at least relatable. It's real. Yeah.
Yeah. So good. Well, I'm excited to finish it. I am.
Yeah. Nice.
I think it'll be good.
So what's next on your list or your final third?
Yeah, my final one watched last night again from the this is from the late 90s. It stars Tom Everett Scott and Mark Paul Gosselaar, but then it also has appearances by Jason Segel, Allison Hannigan, and Linda Cardellini. Now, this is I don't know how many people have actually seen this movie, but it's called Dead Man on Campus. Have you seen this? As you enjoy your tacos? Okay. Ruben is shaking his head no while he eats his tacos for everybody on the podcast. So the premise is Tom Everett Scott is Josh. Mark Paul Gosselaar is Cooper. They are roommates at college, their freshman year. Cooper is a slacker, pothead, just likes to party. He wants to just experience college life, doesn't want to go to classes. Josh, on the other hand, he's there on a scholarship, very driven, wants to get through on his plan and on his track in his time and, you know, get on and move with life because that is successful. About halfway through the semester, Josh falls in with Cooper of getting high and just experiencing college life for what it could be and tanks his midterms. So which is just terrible. Well, Cooper's never gone to class, so he also is failing. There is a rule at their school that if your roommate commits suicide, you get A's, you get straight A's for that semester. Because you can't be expected to study or whatever, you know what I mean? So this is a very dark premise, but what they do is they decide to find the most deranged, psychotic, depressed, unhinged, sad, whatever could put in there, somebody who looks like they could be close to committing suicide. They want to find that individual, move them into their dorm.
I want to get him to commit suicide.
Yes, and then push that person over the edge.
That is so dark.
It's messed up. Okay, it's a terrible premise. It's really mean.
Yeah.
But there's so much comedy within this that it really works because it's all of these hijinks. It is all of these just failed plans. But you have some emotional roller coaster through a little bit of this where, you know, the drama is blown up a little bit more than it probably should be. But that's what makes it this fun movie. That, you know, there's a lot of comedy in it. Like Empire Records, there's a great soundtrack. Just, you know, a bunch of fun. I laughed out loud a lot. This is still another movie, though, that feels very late 90s. That it is encapsulated in that era. And I'm not sure you could do it now because there are things that are said in this that are very un-PC. And they were said on-PC. They were on-PC at the time, but it was a little different. Like you could, they were forcing it a little
like
bit.
All the Westerns, that's what was said then. That's what was expected to say. But now culture's changed and moved on.
Yeah. So it's not a terribly long movie. I think if I was going to choose one, you know, Empire Records or Dead Man on Campus, and which was I was going to watch repeatedly over like 6 months, you know, I would watch Empire Records more than I would Dead Man on Campus. But I still have a blast with Dead Man on Campus. I mean, it's There's some quotable lines in there, just like within Empire Records. There's like in my head, the mental image also is like I can laugh along with it as I replay certain scenes in my head, even without the context of watching the movie. And so it was one of those sleepers where I saw it, I think, first time on DVD or video, and we were just like,
Is this something you own or you found on Netflix? Or
I own it now, have owned it for quite a while. Both Empire Records and Dead Man on Campus are right now available on Stars, at least in the US. Maybe I don't know how Stars' distribution works, if it's geofenced or whatever, but you can watch both of those on Stars, which I was thrilled about, because I think I own both of the movies, but I own them both on DVD.
yeah, I don't even know what that is, Chris.
Right? Like, so if I put that into my 4K player, while
like
it will
8-tracks tape.
Yeah, well, it'll blow up. It'll just look bad.
Weird.
Yeah. So anyway, but yeah, if you've never seen Dead Man on Campus, it's worth checking out at least once. I think if you're Gen X or early Gen Z, then you will have a better appreciation for it than somebody who is like early teenager now. I think you'd cringe, roll your eyes, go, "This is stupid," because there is a certain bit of nostalgia within there also that you have to. But I think the comedy still works for a lot of it.
Okay, definitely gonna see what streaming platform this is on here in the UK. Give it a go. I like a bit of nostalgia.
Nice.
Okay, so for my final film, this is also going back a few years, not as back in the 90s, but early 20s. Well, this is 2016.
Okay.
And it's a film called Rebirth. It's a film that I saw pop up once, forgot about it, meant to watch it. And then Netflix dropped a bunch of other kind of drama thriller movies. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to stick this on and see if it's any good. After the week of poo, watching 6 things back to back, going, no. And this is your classic, has Fight Club-esque spirit to it. Don't go in thinking it's nearly as good as Fight Club, because it isn't. Not many films are, to be honest.
Sure.
It's probably like one of the greatest films of all time, in my opinion, but I'm right. So a guy that is doing the 9 to 5 job, day in and day out. There's a nice little montage of him doing day in, day out, to work, to office, businessman. Used to be a lot of fun in his younger times. He had a best friend who they used to get up to shenanigans. They wrote a Bible of things that they weren't going to be boring. That's what they told themselves. In walks his friend after not seeing him for 20 years and goes, "Dude, what happened to you? Like, you're boring now. I've done this thing. You got to check it out. Get out of the rut in this business. Go and do it." And reluctantly, he does do it. It's called Rebirth, and it's not a cult.
It's not a cult? Are you sure?
Not a cult. Not a cult. But in this cult, not a cult, you have to go through a bunch of stages to get to the place where you're part of the team. And in each of the stages, there's a different room with different themes. And it's very weird. One room is obviously going to be the love room, and another one's going to be like the torture room, and the other one's going to be this is your life sort of thing. And they seem to know everything about you. But the more it carries on, the more you realize this everything's not okay. But it also has an ending that I wasn't okay with, but I thought was quite brave. Which I was like, it's not a long movie. It doesn't outstay its welcome. The score's good. The acting is good. It's one of those indie gems that you kind of find and go, yeah, that was kind of different. It has about a middle, like between critics, it goes down the middle. Some people liked it, some people didn't. I think you need to make your mind up. But this is one that was like, now I don't know if that's partly to do with the amount of poo I watched. Maybe that has a little bit to like, at least I found something that is watchable sort of thing. However, I like the actors. I like where it went in the end, and I like where it went in the end because I wasn't expecting it to go there.
This you said this was on Netflix, right?
Yeah.
Is this that one with Fran Kranz?
Yeah, Fran Kranz. Such a great name.
Okay, yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, when he's the one who wrote and directed Mass. But I remember this coming out, and I was intrigued in a weird way, and then I added it to my list, but then never actually watched it. So I'm gonna have to
Mm.
have to carve out a little bit of time there and see.
Yeah,
'Cause that'll
definitely check
be,
it out. I'd be interested to see what you think of it.
yeah. Okay, cool. Well,
Well, that's all me done.
that's me done too. All
I
right.
just want
Well,
I want to say before we go, you
yeah.
see that set of box sets behind me with Mila Jovovich on it next to He-Man.
Ye-
This
Oh, yeah. Yes. Resident Evil, the game.
Resident Evil includes all 6 films. Those films are better than the Netflix series.
Oh, you know what? So I put on, I started it, and I watched 40 minutes, and it's a very, this baffles me the entire time of why you create a main character who is absolutely despicable, and yet you want me to root for them. Because what's her name? Jade, I think. I I don't know her in the future or the present, maybe as it is. Um, she's just kind of there. But every time they go to a flashback, I like her less and less and less. And I was talking with my wife because she watched the 40 minutes with me, and she was like, I just whatever, I'm out. You if you're gonna watch this, whatever. But but we were discussing it, and it was like, you know what? It's weird how it goes present, past, present, past, present, past. And
That's
I never
so annoying. It's one of the worst things about the series.
I don't understand. Like from a continuity standpoint, it's very hard to follow this. You know what I get? And I think
It's very
I would
hard to get emotionally engaged if you spend 20 minutes with your characters and you jump back and you spend 20 minutes and then you spend 20 minutes. It does that the whole series.
see now. I would have thought like for me, like I told my wife, okay, because I didn't even finish the first episode, so I don't know how it wraps up or anything else. And there's no way I was going to watch the rest of the series because I was just like, I'm done. I'm not going to. This is stupid. But show us the beginning of Jade in the present, where she gets attacked by the giant wormy thing, she gets knocked out, and then it goes to black, and we wake up with like as flashback. Okay,
Yeah.
then
So
take
we-
the
Exactly.
take the rest of that
Exactly.
episode,
Yeah.
do the entire flashback, end with in that episode with her coming back to the present, and then continue on. Now I don't know how it goes from there, but that
I think they should have just done it chronologically. Do like 3, like start in the future, go back, do 3 episodes that lead into where she gets to, and then we have 3 or 4 episodes. Was it 8 episodes? I don't know. It was so long. Yeah, do half and half almost, but have 4 episodes in the future. The future content was way more interesting. It was more, I say interesting. It was more zombie than you'd expecting. All I want from Resident Evil is somebody stuck in a house running away from a zombie. That's like, it's not a hard formula to create.
yeah.
And you could have some mystery in there of puzzles they're trying to solve. Like that is Resident Evil through and through. You don't need anything more than that. Some writer could have had so much fun with creating characters around what they're going through, the puzzle piece. But we went the teenage angst one with Wesker's. Like Wesker's meant to be like one of the badass dudes who is the daughter's dad.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
the daughters obviously have something to do with the whole formula, but
sure.
nobody asked for teenage angst kids. Nobody wanted that story. Like, I don't get it. Why do that to Resident Evil?
Yeah, I couldn't be bothered with it. I gave it a shot for 40 minutes, and I think my patience was also at a lesser level because I had watched so much already that it was just lackluster. And then I saw it was 8 episodes or even 7 episodes, 6 episodes. It doesn't really matter. It was long. It was a chunk of time, and I was like, nope, I can't do it. So
Yeah.
Do you get the sense that there will be more, like a second season? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And yet Archive 81 was canceled. So,
seriously.
Yeah.
Anywho, we've got some really fun things to talk about in the audio with the news, and things we're looking forward to that, fingers crossed, actually are going to be good.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm hoping. We thank you for tuning in, for watching us. We apologize. The format of this is a little bit different, but technology being what it is, there you go. But thank you for tuning in, for sticking with us. Like, share, subscribe. Ruben with the Ruby Tuesday and his tacos. Chris, Movies and Munchies. I should have tacos. I have apple juice. Tweet at us at Best We Watched. Also, please, we would love it if you checked out our Patreon opportunity. There's a ton of content in there. It is, you can access that at patreon.com/thebeardedones, because we have beards and we celebrate the art of the beard, which, whatever. Thanks so much. If you're watching on video right now, you can head over to anywhere you happen to listen to podcasts. Check us out there for the full audio version. It includes this portion that you just watched, but also, like Ruben teased, movie news, entertainment news, stuff we're looking forward to coming up, all of that. The description, or the link to that, is in the description below. And with that, we will see you next week. Take care.